Hello, all the people out there. We have just come back from talking to one of the secret chiefs, the same guy we talked to. Well, I say guy, who am I to in any way say what his pronouns are? Did you just presume my pronouns? I presumed the secret chiefs. Anyway, we're talking to an entity known as Black. So if you want to check that out, then the links are in the show description. It'll be TaSTA's Ritual with the wonderful Duncan Barford, who has the nicest voice on the internet. I think we can all agree that it's a known fact. Hello, Duncan.
Oh yeah, lovely to be here. Thank you. I felt so spacey after that, by the way. I was sort of shaking and everything. It's weird how you don't notice till you come out of it, do you? But yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I think because we didn't really talk about it in the previous episode. What exactly did you do to get to where you ended up in that? Like, what was your process? What was your...
Well, did a little bit of banishing, burnt some incense, did a little bit of pranayama, basically over-breathing, that skull-shining breath, I think it's called, which is basically just over-breathing. It's sort of like, what's that holistic breath work? It's just sort of doing that.
Holotropic, that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave Lee, all that stuff.
Yeah, so basically just flooding your brain with oxygen, I think.
Okay.
And and then just went with it, whatever comes up. I mean, it's basically a Jungian technique, isn't it? Active imagination. You just allow images to surface and sort of try and engage them in conversation and see what they say back. So.
When you're seeing the images have a different quality than, say, normal daydreaming or... if you think of a black dog now, is that the same quality as what's happening during those trance things, or is there something different to it?
They are a little bit different because they kind of persist and develop. So, like, when you say black dog, you get an image of a black dog, and it's a black dog, and it's there, and then it's gone. But for me, anyway, with the sort of trancey, active imagination stuff, the image sort of grows, develops slowly over time. You just keep it there. You just keep it in your mind and let it do whatever it wants to do. So,
yeah,
it's.
What do you mean? Like, does it become more doggy? That makes sense.
Well, it will probably start moving and doing something. Yeah. I know myself from doing kind of some journey and stuff, some interesting things that come out of it. But I always found that I had to, in some way, initiate it. I couldn't just go in kind of cold and just go, right, let's have a look, see what's going on here. That you kind of have, like, there's this kind of notion that you start in a forest and you go down a hole or something, that you in some way initiate it through that way. And I found that a bit more helpful for people who want to try it themselves, rather than just closing your eyes and going, right, reveal the secrets to me, oh great masters.
So give it a seed. I think that's
a seed. That's a
bit of advice. Yeah, seed it and just just sort of think, well, what would it be doing now if it was doing something? If it were about to do something, what would that be? Just sort of like let it happen.
Yeah. When, I suppose, did you first start that? Because I know you definitely have done it through the Baptist Head days, because there's that whole tempeh working, and that was done in a kind of similar manner. And you had videos about doing and a whole book about scrying the aeters as well. That's a very similar type thing, I suspect. Is it the same kind of process?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first time I started doing it.
Right,
when I was doing that stuff with Alan. But I mean, of course, it's all there in the literature, isn't it? I mean, this is what Crowley used to do, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. The vision and the voice, as was maybe mentioned. Yeah. And was it something that, like, you seem very good at it. Like, do you feel you're good at it, or what's your kind of thoughts around it?
No, I don't think I don't feel particularly gifted at it, to be honest.
Right. Okay.
And I think the interesting thing about it is everyone's got a different style. So, like, I remember when me and Alan used to do visionary work together, like, mine would be sort of like quite symbolic, and it would move very slowly and grow, and now this is happening.
Right.
That's happening. Whereas Alan's would be very sort of like oh, there's a thing, and now it's turned into another thing, and now that's turned into another thing, you know, and it'd be
right. Bang, 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 bang. Yeah.
And I think, you know, people do have different styles to it. So, you know, if you do try this sort of stuff at home, folks, you know, don't be surprised if you get completely different results.
Would you recommend people talk out loud when they do it, or try to remember it? You know, if you're doing it just on your own, like rather than with, or is it best to do it with someone who can listen to you? And
if you're going to do it on your own, you need a notebook and pen.
Rather than an audio recorder, is that you would say?
I would go for a notebook and pen.
Okay.
Because
you're more traditional.
Yeah, because like I was saying, for me, things will develop and they might end up going in a different direction to what they seem to be going in at the beginning. So my preference would be to record it afterwards, you know, as a kind of narrative. But I tend to be very sort of...
all right, so you're not stopping in the middle of it and go, tree, L... Yeah, weird old man or whatever.
Yeah. But again, I tend to be very sort of like linear left brain narrative language kind of oriented. So, you know, other people might have different approaches. I mean, you know, some people might prefer to draw it or something like that.
So say with something like Black or with Tempe or indeed with Ion, as you did with the Magia stuff, is there a sense of a presence that will be different? Or like, is it an evocation, like more than just the active imagination in a sense? If you know what I'm saying,
yeah. No, interesting. Yeah, no, I think there is a different sense of presence. I mean, like that entity that we called today had a really different sense of presence from Tempe or Aeon.
Yeah.
I won't say much about it because folks can go and listen to it. But he had. He had a really sort of like caring, interested, you know, he was very focused on you guys.
Yeah, which I found interesting given that we had been talking, or myself and yourself, during last week or so, we were just saying that from the perspective of the Secret Chiefs or the Brotherhood, that it's almost you would expect the opposite kind of come, where they'd be uncaring because they're not concerned with like kind of human matters, that it, you know, seen from a loftier place, all of this doesn't really matter. But so it was interesting to find the warmth and the interest from that quarter, I suppose.
And maybe it's something to do with the different methods as well. Like last time you were using the Estes method, weren't you? And all these methods have advantages and disadvantages. I mean, I think the brilliant thing about the Estes method is that sense of a conversation in real time. Like there's a back and forth. It's really, really
particularly in if people haven't listened to it, your latest episode is doing. I always pronounce that wrong. Estes, is that it? Is that how it's pronounced? Estes, Gloria Estefan method, and and you did it with Paul and Jason, and there's a whole sections of that which are a proper conversation that if you're having with just someone, it wouldn't feel weird, or wouldn't, you know, it's like an almost immediate. I mean, even with ours that we did, there is moments, but an awful lot of it is kind of, you find, I think it's, you left a lot more space between mean Spud a bit, but come on, what do you mean? Tell me the answer.
Well, last time with Jason, I was all hepped up and fucking in the war zone. So listening back, I was like, Spud, man, shut the fuck up and let it talk. Yeah. But like, there was moments during that as well where like Jason was saying stuff where it was like, shit, he's reading my brain. What the fuck? Or reading my thoughts, I should say. That was bizarre. And then like we were asked about it in the Discord, and you can't really explain it because your thoughts are happening obviously so quick, because he'd say, I don't know, like Black Gate, and you're like, straight away you're thinking, what does that reference to? And then you're like, okay, so maybe for me it would be like, first thing I would think of with Black Gate would be something to do with the horses. So I'd say something to do with, I'd say, oh yeah, that's something to do with the horses. And then there would be something next that Jason would say,
yes, the horses.
And it would be like saddle or stirrup. And it's like, whoa, what? How would you do that? You know?
And you go, is he reading my mind? Yes, I'm reading your mind. And you go, what?
Pretty fucking cool, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the one that freaked me out was when you told me, you were saying, say my name. Say my name.
Yeah.
And he says, Tommy.
Tommy, yeah. It's great. We used to do that with the Necrophonic App. And the very first time we ever used the Necrophonic App, me and Spud, I had used it a couple of times, which is just like an app that has sound banks that it plays randomly and reverses them and adds spooky reverb and stuff. And the very first time we set it up, the cameras weren't even running, and I said, say hello to Spud. And I went, hello, Spud. And that was it. The rest of the day was gibberish, but it was like, yeah. I'm just letting you know that I can do this, but choose not to.
Yeah. Well, Jason's like really good at it, though, isn't he?
He is really, really good at it.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of it. It goes to show that a lot of this stuff is there's a practice element to it as well. That you just have to. Same as anything. Same as singing. Same as playing guitar. Same as divination. The more you do it, and it's not that it's the 10,000 hours thing or whatever. Like I still think it has to be some sort of natural aptitude in you to want to do it, I suppose, in the first place. But it's like like you're saying that it's very close to like a Ouija board type of an experience with that method and that kind of fragmentary stuff. Whereas with that trance stuff, it definitely doesn't feel fragmented at all.
No,
it's definitely more complete.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of think about it in terms of objective and subjective. So, like with the Ouija board, it's very objective because you've got a piece of apparatus, and you get a written record of the communication as well. It's very kind of external out there. And the Estes method borrows from that, I think, with all the technology. Stuff, and like the person doing it could say, well, I'm not doing anything. I'm just repeating what I'm hearing on the headphones. I don't think it does work like that. I mean, the way Jason's described it, it isn't quite like that for him. He's not necessarily saying exactly what he hears, but he's going with what he thinks he hears.
And also leaving out stuff that doesn't seem relevant because, like, there's I'm sure there's any amount of millions of words that he's hearing, but I'm assuming, not speaking for Jason, that he's, it's like, when something is relevant in a kind of a synchronicity or a magical way that, it just pops out, it has a bit more of a colour or a feel to it. I'm assuming that's kind of what happens, that words pop out at him.
Yeah. Whereas with the stuff, that I was doing today, the trance work, it's almost 100% subjective. There's no props, there's nothing. It's just you and your imagination. And that's it.
Have you ever used, like, you did some sort of dream stuff with some drugs and stuff, or some, not drugs, let me see, what's the word, herbal supplements? There was someone that in your book you're talking about, there was like a particular dream herb or something that you were using. Have you used anything in regards to getting into trances or anything like that? Or?
What, like substances? No, not really. No. I did use Mugwort once. Maybe that's
right. Maybe that's
what you're thinking of. Just have a nice cup of Mugwort tea, mildly psychoactive.
Oh yeah, disgusting. Yeah, it's absolutely good. I have a huge bag of there. If you ever want to really harm yourself, try wormwood tea. That's even worse. Ooh. It's just so bitter. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I tried, and then I did the tinctures and all that, and number one, didn't do anything for me. I'd quite be willing to suffer the pain of it if I was getting visions, but it was. But people swear by it. Mugwort swear by it that it increases the visuals and the remembrance of dreams too.
Yeah, I've found that you have to really kind of imbue yourself with it. Like you have to drink a lot of it and maybe burn it at the same time and inhale it, and before you get really noticeable effects. But
I can't imagine my wife would like that if I was doing that just before bed. Just hold it up. Forget about the smoke. It's fine. It's fine. It's all good.
It smells identical to weed, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But at one stage they were selling like, I don't know, have I it handy to me? Yeah, here it is. Like huge bags of it on that's the wormwood on Amazon for like a tenner.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I got wormwood and Mugwort's over there. Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to be that big. No, I think the copped on that there's a load of wizards trying to talk to gods, so it's a bit more expensive. And also, you can't send anything to Ireland anymore from Amazon because of that wonderfulness that is Brexit. Yeah. Just don't send it anymore.
I have kept an eye out for some mugwort while I've been walking around, but I've never seen any growing.
You can grow it fairly easily, I think.
It grows easily. Yeah. But I've never seen any out in the wild.
No, I've seen that there's. I've seen wormwood, silver stuff. It's not quite the same. That iNaturalist app is great if you don't have that. It's a free app that identifies all the different plants. So you go around thinking you're one with nature, go, but you're thinking, this is a tree. Brilliant. Well done. Yeah. So while we have you, Duncan, for people who don't know who you are, which there's many who listen to this who don't know who you are, do you want to talk a bit about what you're doing on the podcast, or what's your approach to it, or any of those things, so people couldn't jump in?
Well, I won't say too much because this is your place.
Oh, well, no, absolutely. Say as much as you want. I will listen to your dulcet tones all day, Duncan. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, so Occult Experiments in the Home is my podcast, and I suppose it's focused very much on the kind of internal psychological, mystical dimensions of magic. So that's what I identified as my little niche.
Right, yeah.
So...
in personal experience, which is, I suppose, the byline. It's your actual experience of these things rather than theory.
And I do try to base everything that I talk about on personal experience, things I've actually experienced. The drawback of that, of course, is, there's a finite amount of that. One day I'm going to run out of things to talk about.
Well, you just have to keep doing new things. That's it. You have to up your game constantly and go on adventures the whole time.
Yeah.
Like calling up secret chiefs. But originally you started off in... Was the Baptist Head the very first thing you did, or was there a previous kind of blog or something
No, that was the first thing. So me and Alan Chapman back in the day did a blog called The Baptist Head. We met each other through a magical organisation that we were both members of, and we just wanted to put stuff out there, do stuff.
There was originally Trees, though, wasn't it? Sean as well. He's in a couple of the early podcasts.
Yeah.
He just sounds exactly like Dylan Moran.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, exactly. I thought it was him.
Yeah. But he did a podcast with Dylan Moran. What is this? Yeah. He obviously wasn't around for too long then, was he? Because
no,
not any of the books, or was he writing blogs too, or?
He wasn't around for too long. He is Canadian, and he went back to Canada.
He's Canadian. What's going on with his accent then? What's that? Is it a radio voice he does?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Baptist Head, it's 2005, is this to 2010, something like that? It's a good 5 years anyway, yeah. Long. Is there any plans to release those books again at any point, or is it...
Me and Alan talk about it, but it's just going to be such a lot of work. That's what puts us off. Because if I brought them out again, I want to go through the text again, and update the links and update the references and stuff like that. So it's just finding the time. But we have talked about bringing out a kind of hardback collected edition. So
now we're talking.
People,
leather bound, goat skinned. Something being sacrificed on the front of it. Yeah. I'm up for that. Print on demand on Amazon.
Yeah. But we haven't had Scarlet Imprint bashing down the door to publish it, so it probably would be print on demand.
Probably, yeah. I suppose, if you did get a publisher that way, you go, you just sort out all the footnotes. I'll just be over here with my millions from the royalties.
But I mean, the weird thing is, looking back on all that stuff now, it's such a much more innocent world that we were in back then. When we were back in 2005 and calling up the, ascended masters and getting all these prophecies about the future. I mean, if we had any clue about the stuff that was going to be coming down the line in the next 15 years, oh my God.
Yeah. Because the internet was it's not, I suppose it was Web 2.0 at that stage, but it was still it's not what it is now. Was even Facebook a thing at that point?
Just kicking off, yeah. Right. And I remember me and Alan, getting onto Twitter when it had just started, and there was hardly anyone on it.
Oh, the good old days when it was fun and not a nightmare.
It just feels such a long time ago. Yeah. But this was one of the things. I mean, we were doing all that stuff because there was 2012. There was all this idea about difficult stuff coming down in the future. That was one of the reasons for doing the stuff that we did. But,
Right.
you know, talking to him a few months ago, we had no clue what was going to be on the way. Things have changed so much so quickly, haven't they?
They have, yeah. But at the same time, also haven't, in the sense that, well, what I mean by that, rather than on a global thing, but with particularly in the Baptist head stuff, because Spud will testify to this, is that it's so relevant to people now, and it's still the maps that are in it, and the experiences are very helpful, which is why I think it should be, if at all possible, it should be reprinted, because it's something that, you know, it's available in PDF, but you know, some people don't like it. You can't, you know, it's less enjoyable sometimes to read a PDF than a book. But when kind of Spud was getting into these things, I was going, yeah, read these. These are great. These are great crack. You like these two lads, and you found them really helpful. Like you would put them down as a big part of your kind of journey, Spud, wouldn't you?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I had so many people I've told, yeah, read those books. Read those. Yeah. They'll put you on a road, and fucking follow it. You know, it's great. Yeah.
This is it. You can do it, can't you? It's so easy. I mean, you watch a documentary series like Hellier, you know, and people are like, oh, you know, isn't it incredible that these amazing things happen to these people? But anybody can do that. Yeah, you know, anybody can have those experiences. All you got to do is do the practices, and stuff will happen.
But I think that the Baptist head stuff kind of filled a hole that still doesn't really exist in many ways. You know, between say hardcore, you know, Daniel Ingram stuff, say, like, or more in that kind of very words. You know, you have to concentrate really hard. And you have to, you know. No,
but you know what it was? It was, for me, it was that, like, well, look, if these are normal lads in England, you know, working class chaps, you know, like myself, if they can do it, I can do it. Because, like, you know, you come into this stuff and there's the highfalutin Crowley, and there's the hardcore, like, you know, hardcore, like even Theosophy or who's my guy, Steiner stuff, and you're like, oh my God, this is, what the hell is going on here? But then, like, you know, Alan and Duncan had written these books that are really accessible and very easy to follow, and you can see that while it's, you know, incredibly important to use to do the work, because we're also having crack.
Yeah.
You know.
One of my favourite lines from the books is Duncan going, Alan's really beginning to piss me off with all this enlightenment shit. Whatever the That's a really fun moment.
And of course, that was one of the things. You do the practices, you get results, and then, you know, me and Alan, you know, we were awakened, we were enlightened, and everybody's, rah, no, rah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
How dare you? Yeah.
It's like anybody can do that.
Yeah. It's like, because it's like people say, well, you've said, well, I'm special. You go, no, anyone can do this. Everyone's special. You just have to do the work.
Hey, Duncan, while you're here, me and Tommy there a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how, like, you know, the more the more you kind of get into chaos magic and the more you do it, the more you break it, and then you end up kind of having to devote yourself to something that's within that, okay, that you may have used or may have touched upon in it. Like, what do you feel about that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Chaos magic is, it's a brilliant way in, isn't it? But it's so limited.
Which is odd, considering it's
considering what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
I mean, I think one of, you know, I keep banging on about this, but one of the things we're seeing at the moment is, you know, not very nice people appropriating chaos magic.
Sure, yeah.
Because you can. You know, it's so simple, chaos magic. It's such a bare, simple technique. It's got no ethics built into it.
Yeah.
It's got no spirituality built into it. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the alternative truth is, like, and fake news is, you know, that's chaos magic. Like, I mean, that's 101. Like, you know, you get to decide what's true.
Yeah.
And it's because it's interesting, because I was kind of not struggling with it, but I was kind of thinking this over, as going that, you know, on a micro level, chaos magic appears to work, and then on a macro level, I was going, is it appearing to work? And I was going, yeah, it definitely does work. I don't like it when it happens. But it doesn't mean it's not effective. It's clearly very effective, the approach. But it's like, you go, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't have this power. Maybe we shouldn't. We should have kept this a bit secret.
And that's the thing. You come up against it. I've got to ground this in something. I've got to, you know, place this upon some sort of set of values in order to feel comfortable with this.
Yeah,
that's certainly the point I got to. I mean, I don't think everybody maybe has that sort of crisis, but certainly that was an issue for me.
Yeah, it definitely feels at some point every chaos magician becomes a Buddhist, at least for a while. But it's because that thing you're trying to ground, as you say, ground yourself in some sort of reality or some sort of... That's not even the right word, but because I was going to say something real, and again, that's not what I mean either. Because
I think you're trying to say like a more encompassing tradition rather than a pick and choose stuff.
You know, something that you can go, right, this is it, rather than I've decided this is it, or where there's.
And I think that sort of happens naturally because a lot of the chaos magicians I've come into contact with, they will practice chaos magic, but there will be a particular spiritual tradition that they will be more in tune with than anything else. Like for me, it was Buddhism. But, a lot of people are into like Northern tradition stuff or Tantra, Taoism. There will always be something alongside the chaos magic. That was my experience anyway. So I think deep down people know that chaos magic is brilliant for getting stuff done, but for who you are, your way of being in the world, you maybe need something a bit more substantial.
Yeah, but I'd also be hesitant though to kind of suggest that chaos magic is like a beginner's thing, because I don't think it's that either. Like it's a way in. I think you can have a fully formed ethos from it, and it's just like for me and for other people, it sometimes just wasn't enough. I suppose looking for something.
Yeah,
else.
I think you need. Because what Duncan was saying, like there's no real philosophy to it. There's just try these different things until they work. But like for me and for you as well, Tommy, like we need a kind of a philosophy to fall back on.
Yeah.
When we're kind of like when we're practicing and doing stuff and then trying to see maybe why it's working or how to evolve it a bit more, then you can see, right, look, so the Vedas have whatever 2,000 or 3,000 years of this, or the Buddhists have 2,000 or 3,000 years of it, so I can read more up on that and learn more of it that way,
Yeah, I suppose
just because we're nerds, man.
The whole thing of with chaos magic, you find what works. I suppose then when you find it, you stick with it, and so you probably do become kind of set, and that can look different for everyone. Would you still consider yourself a chaos magician, Duncan? No, or
yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I kind of answered that the same way. I don't.
But I mean, if you look at like people who really do chaos magic as a thing, you look at the discourse of that these days. It's you see a lot of people talking about no one should tell you what to do, no gurus, no teachers. Chaos magic being about not doing anything in any accepted way.
Yeah, non-conformity, which is not what it is, though.
Yeah, but that only goes so far, doesn't it? I mean, you can't always be not doing something throughout your life. There's a point where you have to sort of make your choices and
just kind of, I suppose, stop just being reacting the opposites to whatever's coming to you, because if it's appearing, then it's obviously a lie or control. So I'm just going to take that opposite stance, and I think that happens a lot. It's like, I suppose, with conspiracy people as well. Some conspiracy people, not all conspiracy people, no matter what the government says, they have to take the opposite stance, because if the government's saying it's clearly a lie, and it's like, well, it's not always. I'm sure that there's a couple of bits that they've said in their lives that are actually true, but just that immediate kind of confrontational opposing stance you see a lot in chaos magic, and the Discordian thing of you have to fuck up everything. Why, including your life? Is that working for you?
Yeah.
I suppose Discordianism on the internet became just trolling, didn't it, rather than the playful messing behind the scenes, or doing something weird for weird's sake.
Yeah, it became edgelordy, whereas like the one or two Discordians proper that I do know, they're not like that at all. Like they're just more about like a bit like during the ritual earlier, you had this thing of the purple spiderweb Casey symbol. Like I would see that as the world is chaotic, but it's okay. Like it's that way. Embrace it while you're still here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's what for me that would be my reading of Discordianism. It's just okay. The universe is mental. Yeah. But it's grand.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Hilarious.
Hilarious. Yeah. And there's no point in
So something joyous in that, by the sound of it.
Yeah, joyous in because I suppose we mix up chaos with anarchy, and we also have a bad definition of what we think anarchy is as well. That it's just this abrupt
free for all
or something like that. Whereas chaos, of course, is potentiality. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Good
and
or
anarchy.
bad.
Anytime you've ever stood in a queue, that's anarchy.
Yeah. Or lined up branches in a row, or made Lego.
Go like a queue at your local kiosk or shop, corner shop thing, and there's a queue. I know you don't really have them in England or Ireland anymore. You have them over here. These little standalone sheds that are shops beside bus stops.
Oh, like what band or
we had them years ago. Oh yeah, people working them.
Oh, like the newspaper things in Dublin.
Yeah. They're in Dublin. Yeah. So they'll be selling cigarettes and papers and bric-a-brac or whatever. But it's like, when you queue for them, like it's anarchy because you realize they're in front of me, so I'm here. They're behind me. Okay, this is how it works.
You're self-ordering.
Yeah.
Well, anarchy, one of the definitions of anarchy is without rulers, not without rules, though, isn't it? Like that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Anarchy! What about magic, Duncan? Is it something that you do, like strictly by magic? I don't, because a lot comes under that umbrella. What we did earlier on could be considered magic, but I mean, like, to get the stuff, is that part of what you do anymore?
Sometimes. When I'm really desperate.
Yeah. Desperation magic, nothing like it. Yeah. It works a lot of the time, though, in fairness. I think it's probably the height of emotion that's kind of inserted into it. Although that can work against you, clearly, too.
I'm trying to think of the last bit of magic I did was I had this job and there were loads of stats, performance stats in this job, and I wasn't meeting my performance targets.
All right. Duncan.
Yeah. And if I was going to meet these performance targets, it would mean dealing with people in a way that I didn't find particularly ethical. So I didn't really want to do it. And yet I wanted to keep my job. So I did think to myself, this could be, a good opportunity for a bit of magic. So I just went down the shed, cast a sigil, and then the next morning I logged in and the whole system was down.
Nice.
Across the organisation. The whole system was down and we had to go back to manual. And because we were working manually, it meant that, first of all, there weren't any stats being taken, but also, I was dealing with people in a way that was much better because the technology wasn't there. And then the system came back up 5 minutes before the end of my shift that day. So I was thinking to myself, okay, well, sometimes you get this with magic, don't you? You do work and you get a little flare or something, and then that's it. And I was thinking, maybe that's it. So anyway, I got to the end of the month and I had my performance review with my team manager, and she's like, Duncan, what have you done? Your stats have gone right up. This is incredible. And I hadn't done it. And she was saying to me, can you tell me what you've done, what you've implemented to do this? And I had to make some shit up. Because I seriously
Well, I went down to the shed, had a bit of paper, a bit of a wank, and then look, it's all good.
Nice. Holding my breath is my preferred method.
just to make sure everyone knows. Right, what time are we? Because we have a documentary to talk about. We'll switch to that. I know. Time.
You want me to teach us some Ukrainian there before?
Oh yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Ida. No. Are you going to say I have a dick in my mouth or something like that?
No. Oh no, sorry. I'll give you the full one. Pierre Dollar.
Okay, Pierre Dollar.
She.
De.
She. Pierre Dollar. She. Pierre Dollar. She.
Pierre Dollar. She.
Ida.
Useless. I would not survive in the wild.
All right, we'll try again. Pierre Dollar. She.
Duncan, you tried. You are more educated man.
Ida na.
Ida na.
Hui.
That's
basically what your man said. Russian tank. Go fuck yourself.
Nice.
But I mean, literally, it's like, fuck off. Go to the dick.
Is that what it actually translates?
Yeah, that's translated. There's a song a Polish rapper put out here, and it's been massive. There's loads of videos on TikTok of the Ukrainians singing this Polish song.
Oh, right.
Because the words are. Yeah, okay, you can do this one as well. Jebać Putina.
Jebać Putina.
Skurwia.
Skulja.
I kurwa syna.
I kurwa syna.
Yeah, so it's like, basically means fuck Putin, the motherfucker, basically. It translates literally as fuck Putin, the whore, and poor son.
Oh, nice.
And there's all these videos of these... there's one brilliant one where there's this Ukrainian soldier and he speaks a bit of Polish and he basically says, Poland, Ukraine, we're all together. And then he just starts, Jebać Putina.
I've seen that. I actually see most of these things on your Twitter feed.
Yeah, me
I like the tractor badge that you get.
I bought two of them. Yeah. Class.
Right. The documentary that we chose for this week is the Bridgewater Triangle documentary. And we had a host of documentaries that we were going to watch, and Duncan went, yeah, a lot of these are shit, lads. So, so we're not doing them. So I'll read out the blurb here. In 1983, cryptozoologist Lauren Coleman published his book, Mysterious America. In it, he describes a 200 square mile area in southeastern Massachusetts with a long history of strange, paranormal, and sometimes sinister activity. He called the region the Bridgewater Triangle. And then there's another 3 paragraphs, but that's essentially it. So it's a place in Massachusetts that... I'll get my light back. That it's like the Bermuda Triangle, has a kind of between 3 points, 3 kind of cities that includes a swamp in the middle of it. That it's essentially haunted. And there's a documentary where it goes around interviewing various people about their different... thoughts around it, incidents that they've had, the general history of the area, with Prince Philip being my favourite bit of that. Just thought that, what a great name. Brilliant. Yeah. So a range of really interesting characters, and a kind of, it would probably more fit into the kind of helio-cryptish type stuff than strictly some of the other documentaries do, which would be a bit more about, like, I suppose, spirituality, or even it's not really a haunted thing, although there is that kind of hitchhiker element to it as well. What do you think? What was your thoughts?
Iwachu.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Yeah.
We want you. What? I'm staying here, man. My dog's
was creepy. That was creepy, that story. Yeah.
Excuse me.
So everybody listening to this is going to have to watch it now to find out what that means.
What that was, yeah.
No, there was some creepy bits in it, weren't there?
Yeah, there was some stupid bits too, but the I see Spud last night and just got getting annoyed about the dog attack story.
Yeah.
But there's a dog attacks a pony, is it, or something?
This massive dog in America, in the mountains, around swamps.
Yeah.
There's a clue. Kills 2 ponies. And so I frantically looked, and okay, there's no wolves in that part of the world, but there are, what do you call the other ones? Not hyenas, the other ones. Shit.
Chihuahuas.
The one, coyotes, that's the one.
Right. Not chihuahuas.
No, but like, they're grey and black and grey, black, brown kind of colours, so that's all it was, like.
Yeah. But
yeah, it was a bit weird though. This big dog type creature turns up, kills 2 ponies, arr, arr, and then bye.
Yeah, that's
what an
weird.
arsehole. Didn't even eat them. Just did it because he wanted to.
I suppose the history of the area is quite interesting in that it was American Indian, a lot of different kind of tribes and stuff like that, and there were I suppose, treated unfairly by the colonialists. There's a story that hasn't been told a few times. But this guy who was the head of the... is American Indian the correct thing to call them? I've been corrected on both things, saying that Native Americans and American Indians, and I've been corrected both. And so to say Native American...
Indigenous people.
Okay, so... And... essentially, he gets in some way, he's told everything will be good if you surrender the chief, and he surrenders, and then they kill him, stick his head on a spike for 20 years. That'll teach you a lesson. But the thing where they say why it got haunted and why it's cursed is that it's some belt, and this belt was handed down generation to generation, and it includes the history of the tribe and the history of I suspect, what's going on around it as well. Each year a new bit was added to it, a new stitch. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. And so this was taken away, and that is what's been blamed in a sense, that why this place is cursed, because the Native Americans put a curse on it. And it won't be until that's returned that the curse will be lifted. And of course, when this is mentioned in the documentary, the lights go out. I'm one of the things which is cool. And then he playfully goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, blah, we will try our best." And then the rest of the lights go out. Yeah. But that's fun. Because it's the case with it, as we know, with a lot of this stuff, with batteries start wasting, there seems to be an energy kind of drain that comes in these type of circles or these type
We've
of triangles.
had that. Remember when we were at the Dolmen in Ireland?
I'm sure you've come across that, Duncan, as well, on your many escapades, that charges of batteries just don't seem to last, or phones go off, or flashlights.
Yeah. And the thing about this area is it seems as if all these things are connected. It's high weirdness, isn't it? Like Sasquatch and UFOs and ghosts, and there are all these like interesting links between them as well, as if they're part of one thing.
Come here, it was a few months ago now at this stage, we called up Metatron one time, and one of the questions I asked them was, are all these, based on, say, Patrick Harper's books, and I think Gordon White would be of the same opinion, that all these things are the same but being revealed in a different way,
Yeah.
So we asked Metatron, is this the case? And the answer we got back was, annoyingly, although I like you, Metatron, you're pretty cool in fairness, was that, well, it's the wrong question.
Yeah.
I remember that. And I still struggle with that. I still wrecks my head, so it does. And even, I remember saying to Tommy, we spoke about this a few times, Tommy has given me the proper answer, and I'm still like, yeah, Tommy's right. I'm still annoyed. I'm not annoyed that you're right. I'm just annoyed at that no, it's not, is what he's saying. But it's something else, and the question is wrong. So there's something else there. So what's your thoughts, Duncan?
I think I'm with Metatron on this one.
Right.
On the one hand, as you might expect me to say, I wonder whether this high weirdness stuff is an expression of the absolute, of the awakening process. How can I put it? I remember when I first started off meditating, doing spiritual practice, there'd be a lot of creepy stuff that used to happen. I mean, in the early days when I used to sit and meditate, there would just be a feeling of something
looking at you.
That sort of stuff. Yeah, and that went on for ages. I mean, I don't get it so much now. I do every so often.
I get it too. It's usually 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. And I think there's a way of approaching the absolute where it feels creepy. It feels like a presence, an externalized presence.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether, ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, and that, it's like reality kind of saying, "Hi, I'm over here," and we're all, "Whoa, what's that?"
Yeah.
So is it then, Duncan? Is it like who was I listening to was talking about this? Your man that we like, KLF book, John Higgs.
Oh yeah.
So listen back to John Higgs' book on Blake, and he's talking about Swedenborg in it, and he says that Swedenborg had this very good life. He was a successful engineer, a publisher, writer. And then towards the end of his life, he had these epiphanies, and which was like the kind of opposite of his material life. The spiritual life had to burst through, kind of thing, And then he brings it on then to kind of Carl Jung had a name for this, and this does happen to a lot of people because they've lived one way all their life, but inside them, this thing has to kind of come out, you know? So the question then is that, like, so the experiences like these cryptoids, Mothman, Bigfoot, like, they're quite fucking extreme and scary. So it's like
birds.
So like, how is that? Like,
angels too. Like the first thing to say, don't be afraid. Well, how am I not going to be? You're 80 million eyes and a wing. Come on.
Well, why do you think it's so extreme then? Because it's like these people, they don't tend to go on to have spiritual awakenings. They always try to end up.
It's because they're terrified.
looking for more evidence of the Bigfoot or of Mothman and stuff like that. Why are they not seeing it as like, oh, this is like what you're saying, this is the absolute?
Yeah. Well, I think people get stuck. You know, sometimes we can only get so far with realizing things. I think you see this particularly clearly in Helia. You know, I think Helia is really good for showing you this. Like, they start off as sort of paranormal investigators. They think they're doing science. You know, obviously they're not. And then I think they wake up to the fact that they're magicians. They're actually doing magic. So there's some progress there. And I think that's why Helia is so interesting, because you see that progression. But I mean, when you think about the awakening process, you know, it's about the ego waking up to the fact that it doesn't exist. You know, I mean, what's more scary than that? You're basically kind of dying in a way. I mean, this is just my suspicion that that's what's going on there. Reality is presenting itself to us, but it's in a way that we find scary, and we kind of read a sense of a sinister other. But
it's also that it is external, though, and so that you can still. That's why I think a lot of people say see a UFO or a Bigfoot or whatever. It's an external manifestation. So then they're going looking for truth externally again. I have to find out what that physical UFO is. Whereas if it is just an emanation of an awakening peeking through, you know, there's a disconnect. You know, well, that's not me. You know, that's something out there that I have to discover. I think that can happen with people as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a really good way of putting it. I mean,
why do you think then that it shows itself as that rather than...
It's a mystery. Because if it's a magical reality, then it's going to magic. You know, it's going to appear. And I think, I don't know the answer. That's just speculation on it. But
it's not showing itself as that. I think we perceive it.
Yeah, we perceive it as that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're going to go looking for something spiritual in the material, you're screwed, aren't you?
Good luck.
Yeah. I suppose if you wanted to make an argument, so it could express itself like that to show that the material isn't just the only thing. You know, that, well, I mean, if big feet, if UFOs exist or angels or whatever these people are seeing, then that means that, you know, reductionist materialists' outlook on the world can't be true, or can't be fully true, whatever. There may be an out there perhaps. We can't know.
But thinking about some of the UFO stuff in the documentary, I mean, there's that guy who takes those footage of those orbs, you know, floating in the sky.
That's the guy who ends up with the slate kind of thing, the black slate.
No. This was another guy. I can't remember, but you see the footage, and there's this sort of like white orby thing, sort of like hovering there in the sky, and then he's like, look, there's two helper orbs on either side.
Right.
And there's one's green and one's red. I mean, so that's an aeroplane.
They're flying in formation towards an airport.
But there's something going on there. So he's seeing something that he can't understand, but then he's reaching for something more than what's in the world. You know, it's obviously an aeroplane, isn't it? But there's a process there of reaching for something beyond, isn't there?
And beyond the mundane.
And unfortunately, seeing that in an aeroplane.
But is it unfortunate? But if it still gets you to the place, but I suppose it subsequently can be easily dismissed when someone goes, "Oh, that's an airplane," because I seen it from up here, and then any kind of insight that you got about the nature of things is immediately kind of taken away from you. But I think you could probably find the true nature of things by mistaking an airplane for. God or whatever it is, or a UFO or something.
Yeah, well, that could send you on a process where you realise that, what is different from what you perceive, and you can see how that would send someone on a journey of insight, wouldn't it?
So,
but all that said, I'm still with Metatron on this because
all right, yeah,
there's something wrong about the idea that it's just one thing. It just doesn't sit right with me, because if you're encountered with something that's other, and you're saying, so Bigfoot is another, and UFOs are another, and ghosts are another. If you then say, well, that's just one thing, it's just one thing expressing itself, then you're trying to make another of the other. So the just one thing is the other of the other, and that doesn't sit right with me. It can't. It doesn't.
I get. I'm trying to get that set in my head a bit. Yeah,
you can't have the other of the other. The other either is other or it's not.
Yeah. But I don't, say from a Patrick Harbour point of view. Have you read Patrick Harbour's book? Yeah. Is he actually saying that ghosts are the same thing as fairies, though, and UFO? Is it not more? On my reading of it's that the UFO thing and the fairy thing are kind of something that is. But I don't think he's saying ghosts. Is he? Maybe I'm just kind of. He kind of broke my brain a bit there, Duncan.
Yeah, he takes a very Jungian approach, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's talking about the unus mundus, I think, in Jung, the idea of the world soul, this one thing sort of expressing itself. That's what we encounter in synchronicities and those sorts of experiences. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I think Metatron's right. It's the wrong question.
Yeah. On
the one hand, I want to say it's just the awakening process. It's the absolute presenting itself to us and us getting that wrong in a particular way.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can't have another of the other. It can't. I suppose
in the ultimate non-dual sense, yes, of course you can. But that's not how it presents. I don't know how I feel about it, because even if it's not true, say there is no such thing as a UFO, and I've seen a UFO myself. Spud seen UFOs and he failed to follow it home one night because kids had to go to bed.
Kids in the car, god damn it, ruin everything.
Yeah, you could have known all the answers. Everything would be clear to you.
You could be living on Zeta Reticuli.
Death by Snoo Snoo.
But that thing, the UFO didn't have that sinister thing to me. It had another thing, that otherness thing. That when I very bravely and stupidly invoked or started wanting to chat to Lucifer back in the day, and then he showed up every night for 2 weeks in my room at 3 a.m. looking at me. Well, that present of something, I would say sinister, but who knows? It's just other, that's scary or whatever. That feels different than a UFO to me. Mm-hmm. If I have seen a UFO and if Lucifer had picked up and it's not just all in my head, blah, 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 all that stuff. In that way, to label them as both the same thing, I don't know if I agree with that. But
no.
Isn't everything the same thing, ultimately? So it depends on what level you want to look at it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then, of course, UFOs could be, military, could be, actually extraterrestrial nuts and bolts spacecraft, which I think everyone has kind of decided it's not true anymore. I don't think there's any promoting. Well, Linda Moulton Howe is, isn't she? But she's a bit weird. Yeah. I don't trust her. I don't trust her. Not reading her book.
Yeah. I think it just comes down in the end to the ultimate mystery, which is probably that everything is just one thing, but things are also things.
Yeah.
And how do those two mesh together?
Well, or that way that ultimately everything is non-dual, but we live in a dualistic version of it. That's how why this works. It's like the beginning of the Kabbalah, where it splits, and so that it can reference itself, I suppose.
Yeah.
So which is the inherent duality of manifestation.
I think that's there in the documentary as well. Like, they talk about this Bridgewater Triangle, but there's stuff going on outside of it.
Yeah.
It's not really an area where weird stuff happens. Weird stuff happens everywhere.
It's funny though, like growing up, the Bermuda Triangle was big business and it was talked about a lot. And, like no one talks about it anymore. Like I thought quicksand and the Bermuda Triangle were going to be much more forces for bad in my life. Turn that light away.
Nope.
Whatever happened to the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, it disappeared. The whole section's just gone now.
It's just gone, yeah. There's nothing there now. Just land. Dry land.
What's your experience of the other, Duncan? Have you seen UFOs? Have you seen... I'm sure I know when you say it to me, you've talked... Well, you had the ghost that turned up in the monastery, but that was interesting.
Yeah. I love
sexy nun ghost.
Sexy nun ghost, yeah. Sexy time.
I was thinking about UFOs when I was watching that documentary. I remember once when I was at school, we were playing football. It was PE, and we were playing football. And I used to hate PE.
Oh, I hate it.
I hate sport.
I have a note.
And I used to especially hate football. And football would definitely usually be me hanging around in defence. There never seemed to be any offside rule.
Last man back.
yeah. So it'd be me hanging around the goal with all the other geeky kids, just trying to stay out of the way of the ball. And,
you were good at football then, Duncan. Yeah.
And one day we noticed something weird up in the sky. It was this like little
football.
We just let it go into the net. I don't know what. It was very strange.
There's this thing up in the sky, this sort of like speckled thing. And I kid you not, it's sort of disappearing from one part of the sky and appearing instantaneously in another part of the sky. It's doing this sort of thing. And me and some of the other kids were, what the hell is that? And we're watching this thing. And then suddenly the ball kind of bounces down from the other side. so I sort of step out the way of the ball to get a better view. And the PE teacher is, what are you doing? Stepping out the way of the ball.
UFO, sir.
Stop looking at that kite. It's not a kite.
Yeah. Clearly an angel.
Disappearing and appearing again. Yeah, it's weird. So, there were us watching this really strange thing in the sky and getting told off for not paying attention to a football. Like, do you want to look at this thing?
Can you not see this? Can you not see what this is? Yeah.
I remember Alan telling me once about a UFO appearing when he was with some mates, and he described this experience where they wouldn't look. He was like, "Can you see that?" And they're like, "Yeah." They couldn't see it. They couldn't recognise it.
Same as you tell me, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very similar to mine. I've seen it, and I was with I should have known better. It was a bunch of druids at the time, and it was after one of their ceremonies. Whatever, we were just around the campfire drinking, which is seemingly what most druids.
That's what druids do. A lot of. When
I say druids, they weren't 2,000 years old or whatever, 4,000 years old. They were recent druids. But anyway, then there was this green triangle thing that didn't have a green
like an arrow. Was it a green arrow?
And I was just flying. I was going, look, the thing, and they're going, yeah, whatever. I was going, no, but no. No. I was going, right, okay. Do you see this often? No. Okay. They didn't care. They didn't.
Yeah.
I found that interesting.
I mean, you can see a sort of awakening thing going on there, maybe, where some people are recognizing something that doesn't fit in with reality, and other people just don't recognize it.
Yeah, almost don't want to. I'm not paying attention to that, but in a kind of a, I don't know, very dismissive of it. But it was just it's a very odd thing. I was I put up a link on Twitter recently about Nuke's Top 5. I've become obsessed with this YouTube channel. And I always thought that I would be a fearless ghost hunter. I am never ghost hunting ever again in my life. It's terrifying. These things that people see. 99% of them are definitely made up. Still quite fun and sinister or whatever, but that occasional one we go,
I really hope that...
Oh, no.
Yeah, I really hope they're made up.
Yeah, some of them were just like, oh no, especially when there's like a lot of this kind of sweeping around. And did you see it? No. Do I want to see it? And it's like clear as day, girl with black hair staring at you. Evil. But
my favourite was the teenage girls calling up the devil into a doll, and the doll moves.
The doll moves, yeah. Turns the head red.
And they scream and run away, you know, as if they were calling the devil into a doll in order for that not to happen.
Always surprised when the devil shows up. Always surprised. But back to, I suppose, this documentary. It seems that's what we were to talk about it. There is a number of other kind of things. If you do enjoy this documentary, there's a if you just do a search from it, there's a whole channel which is guys from the area doing kind of ghost hunting stuff as well, which I watched a few. It seems okay. It seems like, again, they could do it in editing, you know, like 40 minutes of walking around the house. Go, okay, give me the 3-minute version where the spooky girl turns up. That'll do me. But the documentary itself is more a collection of, there's no narrative to it at all, like other than the beginning history bit. It's just a collection of people talking about, you know, their experiences. Man, the cop guy is very good, where he goes, and then I heard a voice, and I want to just say I don't normally hear voices, okay? But I heard this voice. He seems like a character. He's in a couple of the other kind of documentaries. He seemed quite funny.
Yeah, no, that was interesting. Like, he hears a voice saying you need to turn around, and he turns around and Bigfoot's there.
Yeah.
So there's more than Bigfoot going on there, isn't there?
Yeah,
there's also voices telling you to.
Yeah. And that's a big feet. There's a Bigfoot over there. Don't look at me. Look at him. And there was the other woman as well, who she's seen the will-o'-the-wisp type. No, that wasn't a wisp, but she's seen some kind of, she evoked something, and she went to look at her camera, and as soon as she went for the camera, it went. A lot of that kind of thing, as soon as you kind of want to say it to someone else, like, can you see this? It goes. You know, that it seems to be something that's part of that kind of experience of it. And the woman who's seen jumping off the cliff, the hitchhiker in the bus with the red hair, that's very, very odd. And a lot of the stuff has been destroyed over the years as well. Like they've kind of brushed it over. There was like an Indian statue thing from a mountain that was levelled to make houses or something. Just kind of brush over it, like to show a picture of it. There's a lot.
People not know any better than stuff like that by now. Like, they're on Indian burial ground. Let's build houses. No. Let's not do that. Oh, look, a fairy fort. Let's put a skyscraper on it.
I was thinking for the equinox, I was planting some flowers and stuff out in the garden. I got a load of compost, and I've gone, this would be the very interesting kind of horror movie where you're pouring out the compost, but the compost has come from an Indian burial ground, and then you've a haunted house, and the flowers are coming in.
Big spooky daffodils.
Huge sunflowers just looking in the window.
Why are the sunflowers black this year? I don't know.
Yeah, speak out of teeth. But if you put your hand in, there's nothing on the inside. I don't know. But it's like, I enjoyed the documentary. It's definitely not the funniest documentary I've ever seen. I'll give it 7 Peter Kingsleys out of 10. What's everyone's rating?
Yeah, I give it maybe 6. I didn't, you know what? To get Tommy nerdy on it, I didn't like the color correction or the editing.
Yeah, it's not put together well.
It's a YouTube documentary. Yeah. You know, it's not. You're not going to get it on Amazon Prime or Netflix.
Well, it's on Amazon Prime. I'll have you know.
Well, fairness now. As soon as I said Amazon Prime, I said they probably fucking would have it. They'll take that.
Yeah, it's not on Netflix. It's you have to use a certain camera and everything to get on Netflix.
Right.
Yeah, have you score? Are you a conscientious objector to Peter Kingsley's scoring method?
Yeah, no, I'd give it 7 Peter Kingsleys, which I think equates to 3 Cole Youngs.
That's about right. That's about the right scale. Yeah, seems fair. Yeah.
Did you read that thing? Nugan had a blog post recently where he links one of Peter Kingsley's talks.
Yeah.
Did you read it?
Oh no! I read your response.
Oh my god! I was pissing myself laughing. This guy is nuts. He's bonkers, like absolutely certifiable.
Bit, is it? That's about where
Tucky, Tucky, Kaka.
Yeah.
He's fucking mental. So I was just in my house off the island of the west coast of Canada writing a book. And I knew something strange was happening because a raven was circling my house. Ducky, ducky, caw, caw, ducky, ducky, caw, caw. So I went outside in my loafers
and my beige anorak
and proceeded to investigate. Lo and behold, didn't doth raven doth land upon doth branch, and didn't doth raven say it to me. Tucky tucky caw. And then he says, I knew that something wrong was about to happen. But what language was he speaking? He was speaking Crow, you fucking moron. Jesus Christ. And then, within inside myself, I felt a knowledge that death was coming. And 2 days later, 9/11 happened. And he did fucking nothing to prevent it.
yeah, it's his fault.
What the fuck?
Yeah. He knew, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, it was just a funny start. And like, what's funny is just that, like, he gave this lecture. There was a lecture. He gave this lecture in front of people, straight-faced.
yeah. It's people aren't laughing. He does. There's another one where he talks about Paul, and he goes, cuckoo, for ages. It's a legend.
We are talking about Peter Kingsley now.
Yeah. Peter Kingsley. Yeah.
This is bonkers.
The man himself.
I love you, Peter.
Yeah, there was a point where he had a sense of humour. There's a couple of those talks where he's actually really funny in them.
Yeah, no, he's good fun. I have totally flipped on him. I like all the books that I've read. I think he's a very intelligent man. But that's fucking mental. Tucky, tucky, caca, caca.
You should make it as your ringtone. But who rings people anymore? Yeah.
My dad rings me almost every day to know the updates about Poland.
How does he?
But,
right, we are kind of. We should have just ended on a cookie,
caca, caca.
You want to?
So I suppose. Yeah. Right, so to end, Duncan, tell everyone how they can find you and your URLs and where they can buy your books and
your amazing T-shirt.
T-shirts.
I don't have one. I'm gonna have to get one now.
All that stuff.
Other podcasts are available.
Yeah. Are they? No. There's 2 podcasts, TaSTA and Ouija. That's how you pronounce it. Ouija. The O is silent, is it? All right. Sorry.
Yeah. So, all my stuff, oeith.co.uk.
That was a bit simple, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
I'll expand on that for people. You can get books, wonderful books, and there's links to the Baptist Heads PDFs on your site as well, isn't there? And links to some Lulu stuff and some T-shirts and loads of blog posts. It's all the old blog posts on it from the original OEITH. Are they up back on the site?
No, but they're conveniently available in a book.
Yes, they are. Yes. Yeah. There's 2 occult experiments in the home books. There's occult experiments in the home, and is it more occult experiments?
Even more.
Yeah. But wait. And and of course the weekly podcast that it's 2.
Oh, it's bi-weekly now, I think.
Bi-weekly podcast.
Yeah.
But there's 30 odd episodes at this point, I assume.
I've got up to 30 so far. Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think I've got one that I can do next week. I never know what's going to come next.
Well, I'll tell you, it's the only podcast that I'm actually completely up to date with. So that's the greatest endorsement I can give you.
Yeah, me too. I'll give you that too. It's the one I listen to when it comes out. Like,
yeah, nice one.
It's only you and Dan Carlin hold that place in my heart. You know?
Oh, well, there you go. That's prestigious. I don't even listen to my own podcast. So what's that? So, thank you very much, Duncan, for joining us. Thank you very much, Spud, for joining me. Thanks to me, obviously, for joining myself. We are all one. I'm not the other. And so if you want to check out the ritual that we did, seems like days ago at this point now, then it'll be in the feed, or probably best to watch the videos if you're on audio only, because you can see mine and Spud's reactions to that. Really? So, bye.
Bye. Jebać Putina.